Hello YouTube and welcome to an all new Elder Scrolls lore video, this time about Mudcrabs. I mean, sure, I've got time. And so do you, because otherwise you wouldn't have clicked on this video, so don't complain about the topic and let's just talk about Mudcrabs. So, Mudcrabs, probably one of the creatures most encountered all around Tamriel. They're a very common sight in basically every mainline Elder Scrolls games and are, let's say, not the strongest or most fearsome type of enemy. Most people would likely write them off immediately, saying that they're just crabs and not that interesting. But they do in fact have some lore to them, which I'd like to explore today. So, let's start talking about their basic behavior patterns. Mudcrabs tend to live by rivers and when they are not active, bury themselves in the sand in hope of camouflaging themselves as a rock, specifically when they sleep in hopes of being unseen by bigger predators. There are many different types of mudcrab found all around Tamriel, with some looking more like rocks and some looking more like conventional crabs. There's even those in coastal regions which don't look like rocks at all, but rather look like coral, like the one that you see on screen right now. Mudcrabs are generally non-aggressive creatures unless they are threatened, cornered or provoked according to the lore, although in the games we do get plenty of examples of mudcrabs attacking unprovoked, and that's because according to an Elder Scrolls Online lorebook, mudcrabs are highly territorial. They tend to claim parts of the coast or rivers to be their own, or that of their groups, as some of them live in groups. And when that territory is breached by something or someone that they perceive as a threat, they will fearlessly attack the intruder, even if they realistically stand absolutely no chance against them in combat. According to some in-universe scholars, mudcrabs even have an overblown combat prowess, thinking greater of themselves than they actually are. With this I mean that they attack intruders with the genuine idea that they're going to win. This is unlike some animals in nature which will only attack out of genuine self-defense and desperation, knowing that they won't win. I like that, you know, the idea of mudcrabs. If they could speak, they would be a bit like the Black Knight from Monty Python and just never give up, going like,
Didn't I murder? Come on then! What? Have at you!
Because of this battle prowess, mudcrabs will also often fight other animals with their sharp pincers, and in the case when it's hungry, go out for food hunting, as they are carnivores. In their hunting parties they can be a real nuisance to farmers, as with enough crabs, a mudcrab herd, or a mudcrab clutch as groups of them are called, can kill and devour cows, pigs and other livestock, leading to some farmers living close to rivers getting real headaches out of them. However, if there are no farms nearby to raid or other animals on the land or fish in the water to hunt, mudcrabs have shown to be cannibalistic in certain cases. That said, not all mudcrabs are aggressive to Tamriel's travelers, as some types, like the common mudcrab that we see in the Elder Scrolls Online, the smallest type, doesn't seem to see the player as a threat and will not attack unless provoked directly. But the interesting thing here is that the bigger the mudcrab gets, the more aggressive it seems to be to players. This leads me to believe that the small mudcrabs that are not as aggressive see the player not as really a threat to their territory unless attacked, as the player is so much bigger and concerns themselves with different things than the mudcrab, and thus the crab doesn't really see the player as a threat to its own goals and to its own territory. Because it seems that the mudcrabs, like pigeons for example in our world, can get used to humans and not perceive them as a threat. There's this specific text by an in-universe scholar who spent a long time studying a clutch of mudcrabs by a river, and while aggressive at first, once they perceived him not to be a threat to their territory, they literally paid him no mind and just saw him as a part of their territory, as he could even pet them and they didn't even react to him. While that same clutch did react violently to a bear breaching their territory, managing to scare the bear off as they had strength in numbers. But the interesting thing here is that once mudcrabs don't see someone as a threat, they can even be, taken as pets, as they don't pay any mind to you, even though you still need to be careful just to not provoke them and have them perceive you as a threat. Anyway, mudcrabs, when you attack them, are generally not that strong, save for some very small exceptions like the gigantic mudcrab or specific mudcrab bosses created by the developers. This means that even though they're a nuisance to farmers, a farmer can easily, take his family and just take a couple of pitchforks and take out a clutch of mudcrabs all by themselves. And once they have been taken out, there are some interesting uses to them, as their chitin and meat have been shown both to be edible, and the chitin and legs specifically holding some alchemical properties, and certain mudcrab variants even carrying poison in their pincers. That said, we don't really know the complete origin of mudcrabs. However, one theory states that they are descendants of the gigantic emperor land crabs, which crawled across northern Tamriel back in the Dawn and Mradic eras. They were gigantic intelligent creatures with, according to an unreliable narrator, divine pursuits. But then at some point they gave up these divine pursuits and slowly devolved into the mudcrabs that we know today. That said, in early Chimer history, the Chimer even hunted these emperor crabs, and apparently quite successfully, taking quite some of them down. This could mean that they're devolving into the mudcrabs, which is generally believed, but not 100% certain that that's the case, that they devolved into the mudcrabs. That maybe came out of a necessity to procreate quicker and evade hunters, or perhaps the emperor mudcrabs, the bigger ones, were all hunted down, and only the smaller ones remain. We don't actually know that for certain. But what we do know is that one of the larger emperor crabs now forms the central hall for the city of Alderun, where the Dunmer live in the gigantic carapace. And in Skyrim's Creation Club fishing extension, we can even see a gigantic emperor crab ghost, and according to Make the Liar, they aren't actually extinct, and that they can still be found in the deepest part of the oceans, that they've maybe been, if that's the case, if that they've just been, fleeing there after being hunted on Tamriel. But I don't know how much truth there is to that, as after all, Maik is a liar. Anyway, more on the Emperor Crab in my video on sea monsters of Tamriel's oceans, which is in the description of this video. Anyway, back to mudcrabs. It's shown that mudcrabs, like their ancestors, the ancient Emperor Crab, are capable of showing some intelligence, with some even showing higher intelligence, like the talking mudcrab merchant from Morrowind who has a drinking problem, but that mudcrab could also just be a gag and not really accurate lore. But we're doing this video, so I'm mentioning it, because there doesn't seem to be much more to mention. So I hope you're happy with this video. Anyway, I do hope that you learned something today, and if you did, I hope you will consider returning for the next Elder Scrolls lore video, probably on a better topic than mudcrabs, but, had to be covered at some point. But before I end this video, allow me to thank my top Patreon supporters, Mr. Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, Polarized Putin, Athena Heodis, King Chris, Scribe of the Scrolls, Doji, Fenrir, Sort of Bushido, Zar Mikal, and Mr. Christmas. It's thanks to these people and all the others on screen that you see right now that this channel stays alive and that I can make these Elder Scrolls lore videos on mudcrabs and other more important topics. That said, I hope to see you all in the next Elder Scrolls lore video. Bye bye.